In a recent press conference, Sony announced PlayStation Now, which is going to be their streaming service. Remember whenever they bought out Gaikai for like, what, 380 million or some shit like that? So they bought them out with the intention of going and providing PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, Vita, PSP games, all available across all their different platforms. So you'll be able to go and play PlayStation 1 games on your PlayStation 4, and play PlayStation Vita games on your PlayStation 3, and you can go and play PlayStation 3 games on your tablet or smartphone or some shit like that. That's essentially what they want to go and do. Now, upon them going and announcing this, naturally, everybody had a whole bunch of questions. Firstly, when is it going to happen? Well, beta testing is supposed to start this month. And then that's going to roll all the way up until its release, which will be sometime in the summer. They didn't specify, but, you know, it's this summer. Now, they didn't say that it was going to be a worldwide release, so I'm kind of curious about that, if this is going to just show up in certain countries, or if it's just going to happen everywhere at the same time, or certain areas get it first, but either way. The other question was pricing. Now, they didn't specify anything on pricing, but it had a lot of questions come to mind. Firstly, are you going to have different tiers of this? You know, with brand new releases coming out, games are retailed at $60 a piece, or whatever it's going to be, you know, depending on what part of the country you're watching this from. But if they're retailing at $60 a piece, and you're going to provide a rental counterpart to that on the same exact date, or even just like a couple days after its retail release, are you going to provide that rental for, what, half price? Because I can't imagine somebody even wanting to rent a game for $30. It would just seem asinine. Even if it's a brand new game, because I go and think about things like, oh, I don't know, Gamefly, for example, which is a big-time company that rents games, and you can rent like 2 games at a time. You just pay per month, that's it, and get whatever amount of fucking games that you're able to go and play and beat and send back and all the other shit. And it can be brand new games. Granted, you have to go into a queue to be able to get a hold of said games, but regardless, just bringing up the point that if I'm going to be renting individual games, how much are you going to charge for it? And if it's some astronomical amount, why don't I just go and get the physical game that I can keep forever, or just sell off whenever the fuck I want to, or trade, or what the fuck ever? See what I mean? And the thing is, if you make it too cheap, then the publisher / developer, they really going to provide that game that way, because you're kind of fucking over the full retail counterpart of it by providing it for really cheap for the rental version, because there's a lot of people that just get a game, play the game, and then get rid of the game. Lots of people are like that because they don't decide that they want to keep the game. No need for it, and I can completely understand that sentiment, because to them it's like, you know, I don't have a lot of money and I don't actually need this game because I already defeated it. Ah! So it kind of makes me wonder about that. I'm like, okay, so how are they going to go about this? Now, apparently there's 2 different ways that they're going to go about this, but again, they haven't actually been very specific about this. They say you can have the PlayStation Now subscription or rent the games individually. So just having the PlayStation Now subscription, does that give me access to the entire catalog of games that you have available? I'm kind of curious about this. So every single new release will actually be able to go and snag that game up? That makes me quite curious indeed. Now, other questions come to mind. Individual releases for, you know, older games, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, some PlayStation 3 games, are they going to be significantly cheaper to go and rent? Exactly how is that going to go? You know, or are you just going to have it like a specific amount? Because, again, a lot of those games can actually just be bought, the digital versions of those games can be bought for relatively cheap, except for PS3 games. But if they can be bought for relatively cheap, are you going to make the rentals for them, like, absurdly cheap? Because you'd have to for it to make sense. Now, I had heard rumors that you're going to have to be a PlayStation Plus member to go and have access to PlayStation Now. That to me doesn't make any sense, because if you're making this available on other platforms that aren't PlayStation, then why the fuck would they need PlayStation Plus? Because that'd mean that you're making the customer double dip and they're only going to have access to one of those things. I'm sorry, why the fuck would I go and pay for something that I can't ever use whatsoever? So you're going to have somebody who only has a tablet and is only gaming with a tablet, so they now have to pay for PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. And PlayStation Plus, they can't even fucking use, like, whatsoever. Do you know how fucking ass backwards that would be? It would make no fucking sense. For people with PlayStation handhelds and consoles, yes. Everyone else, no. I noticed that they didn't mention PCs, which I thought was really fucking asinine and kind of stupid, because this would make a lot more sense on PC, considering the fact that there's tons of gamers who own PCs and lots of people have a PC or a laptop or some shit like that in their home. So I'm assuming that they're eventually going to offer something like that down the road. They did say that they are going to be doing this on other platforms. And I started thinking about how fucked up it would be if you saw something like this made available on the Wii U or the Xbox One. And that just, like, blew my fucking mind, like, all over the place. It was just like, wow, that would be fucking crazy as shit. Just absolutely fucking nutty batshit crazy. But anyway, so then I had a bunch of questions come to mind about well, potentially bad things. Firstly, what happens to people with bandwidth caps with their internet provider? So their internet service provider has a bandwidth cap, and keep in mind that this person extensively uses all sorts of mobile devices at home, whether it's game handhelds, whether it's their smartphone, whether it's their tablet, whether it's, you know, their computer and their laptop and stuff like that. They're in, you know, their other gaming systems, all sorts of shit. So all this stuff is eating up all their bandwidth day after day, hour after hour, especially if it's a house full of people and all of them are using stuff, because let's be realistic, lots of homes have tons of devices. Okay, so the bandwidth cap is being eaten up. Can you imagine how much you're going to eat up by doing shit like this? I mean, you know, my household, for example, in here, I have my desktop. On my desktop, what do I do with it? Well, I go online and I play games. I go online and I watch movies through Netflix and stuff. I go and browse the internet all the fucking time, listen to music, and, you know, what the fuck ever. So then take into account of my game consoles, my game handhelds, my tablet, which is sitting down there, my smartphone, which is, you know, right here. So all that stuff, again, is all connected. Then I have to take into account of the rest of the people in my home. Again, all using that stuff. So that's going to be a problem for those individuals. Then, imagine all the people with shoddy internet, which there are fucking tons of people with shoddy internet or just no internet access whatsoever. This service wouldn't be able to work for them. Because just imagine, for example, that you are deployed overseas and you're an avid gamer. Your internet is going to be shit at best, unfortunately. I have quite a few friends that are deployed all over the world. And I know for a fact that their internet is kind of crap in a lot of places. So if they're going online gaming, then all of a sudden the internet goes and cuts out while they're in the middle of a game. So is that going to corrupt their save file if they were in the middle of saving? Or what if they didn't get to save at all, so they have to go back to the last checkpoint? Or what if they didn't save it all manually, and that was the only way to go and save all their information, so do they just have to start all over again? Or does the stream pick up right where they left off, like it does with a lot of movies? Like, you know, if I stop something on Netflix and I go back to it like an hour later, then it picks up right where it left off. So would it do that in a game like that exact moment? Is that where it's going to pick up? Does it save all that information? Is it capable of doing such thing? Because if it is, then, you know, feather in your cap and a fucking applause for you. But at the same point, if it's not, that's just going to fuck over the gamer big time, and you're going to end up making a lot of potential consumers kind of weary of ever wanting to go and invest in your product. So then if people with no internet access aren't going to be interested in an idea like this at all. And here in the United States, there's lots of areas with crap internet, no internet. They won't be able to fucking bat an eye at something like this, and they'll just keep on saying, yeah, I'll just stick with the physical copies, because I don't need to be online for one of those fucking things, so fuck all that. I kind of did a thriller motion there. So, thriller, thriller. Anyway, so then we can go on into some other things, like, for example, remember whenever the PlayStation Network got hacked? Well, what happens whenever you get hacked this time around? Considering the fact that you're going to have lots of people's personal information, a lot of their billing information, especially, which is going to be the worst part, you know, what's going to happen with something like that? Are they going to go and shut down this entire network? So we can see PlayStation Now getting shut down, and, you know, games were getting stolen because they had, like, permanent free rentals or something like that. Or they just made it so that they took a bunch of games down, so then you have to go and re-upload all that stuff onto there. Is that going to fuck up people's actual, like, game states and stuff that they have because that game's not available anymore, so none of that stuff works in conjunction? And then PlayStation maintenance. Okay, we've seen plenty of times where there's maintenance that'll be going on, so are you saying that I won't be able to play this game on my day off because that's when you decide to go and do maintenance? Or I'm in the middle of my game and I wasn't aware that you decided that you were going to go and do maintenance, and all of a sudden, kapow! Shit's shut down. Well, I'm sure that they might end up sending out a message saying this to people, but at the same point, for those people that didn't get the message, yeah, they're suddenly being fucking like game block, cock block, whatever the fuck you want to go and roll with, and kind of being pissed off as fuck to a center with like steam and mag coming out of their fucking ears and stuff, and they're about to boil the fuck over and look like a goddamn like tsunami, volcano, sharknado, whatever the fuck, and just uppercut the living shit out of somebody out of blatant fucking rage. Naturally, the media will jump on them like, gamer rage, and suck a fucking butthole. But thinking about that, I'm like, hackers and then online maintenance. Those are two things right there for all the people with the constantly stable internet that are paying to go and have this stuff are suddenly going to be fucked over, and that's not exactly good. So that also made me really worried about something like that. And I'm just like, huh. Now with Gaikai, I didn't know diddly dick shit whatsoever about Gaikai until their buyout, and then they end up merging with Sony Computer Entertainment. And I was just like, okay, well, I don't know how great of a service that they provided at all. So that kind of makes me wonder. I'm like, huh, how is that all going to work out exactly? Like, is it really good? But then again, we have the beta testing starting this month, so we'll get to see firsthand a lot of people's hands-on impressions of everything. I haven't signed up to be a beta tester. I highly doubt I'll ever get accepted, but it'd be kind of neat because I'd be like, oh, it fucking sucks, or, you know, it actually works out really well. So then, beyond all that shit, then I started thinking a little bit more about stuff. So this is all being done via emulation. Now, since it's being done emulation, it started making me think about things like EPSXE, which is a PlayStation 1 emulator, and is probably one of the best emulators out there that you could ever tinker around with, just because of the wealth of options out there, especially the ones that people created for it. You know, between all the add-ons and filters and stuff like that, and all the things that will go and up the resolution and stuff like that, making the games look a million times better, will you offer something like this for people, considering the fact that we're going to be playing these games on hardware that's vastly superior to the initial hardware that they were created for? I would love to death to be able to do that. Keep in mind that I've messed around, I've made Mega Man Legends 2 look better than most PS2 games did. And it blew my mind just playing it. I was just like, this is amazing! Like, I was so fucking giddy and so fucking happy to be able to see something like that. But then I've also seen people go and take PlayStation 2 games and make them look absolutely phenomenal on every single level. I'm just like, dude, that's fucking bitching right there. I'm like, that's like the coolest fucking thing in the entire world. So I'm like, okay, you're going to make this look really nice. That's pretty awesome. I'm really happy about that. But can you apply it to this? Again, if you're doing this through emulation, why not? Why not? You know, make these options available. Especially if you have plans to go and put this onto PC at some point in the future, which you really should, then that right there, I mean, look at something like Steam, for example. Okay, Valve made it available so that you can go and download all sorts of random shit that fans created to make the games better. I mean, take Skyrim as just an example, or Doom. Both of those have mods out the fucking ass. Apply that same kind of mindset to this service here, and you would make the games monumentally much better. You know, and that's the thing, the community would love to do shit like this. I mean, I've seen tons of ROM hacks out there. Apply to this, you will automatically get me to like nod and be like, that's fucking cool right there. And I guarantee you that there's a lot of people out there that would like an idea like this. Now, while speaking of this, Sony had patented something just recently going on and talking about that they'd be able to go back and change and add stuff to pre-existing games. So PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games, just imagine, and not like DLC or anything like that, but just additional shit by proxy of having the game. So, you know, you get to a certain point in the game, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, here's a remixed optional stage that you can go down, or, you know, now here's some new character skins and stuff like that, or here's some new music for this area, or here's a new multiplayer mode that was never existent in this. You know, and there's stuff like that. This patent, it just, you know, vaguely went into detail of this stuff, but just thinking about the prospects that this could offer you potential, I'm like, that sounds really fucking cool. I'm like, okay, I like the idea of what this could offer, assuming you do something with it. And then Sony had also talked about, you know, that, well, they planned on having trophy support for all this stuff, but then there was also rumors of them applying trophy support to older PlayStation games. I'm like, okay, so that'd be kind of neat for anybody that's like a big-time trophy hunter, to give them an additional reason to want to trek back through some of the older titles, go and do something like that. So with all these ideas in mind, I'm like, okay, that would be really awesome. I also think about the idea that making some of these, like, older, fucking, like, now legendary games readily available all the time, maybe the physical cost of those games will go down, so anybody that's trying to invest in a physical copy and have, you know, part of their collection just because they want to own it because they like the game so much, it'd be really kick-ass to go and see those prices go down just a little bit because of something like this. So I kind of like that idea of it, but you know, there was lots of people wondering, well, will PlayStation Plus subscribers be able to get some kind of discount, which would make a lot of sense. As a matter of fact, if you applied PlayStation Now to the PlayStation Plus catalog of fucking features that you get whenever you sign up to it and you pay your annual subscription fee for it, if you did something like that, you know, you just get this with it. And I'm like, that would actually make it 10 times more worth it. I mean, I already like the fact that you get avatars and themes and you get, you know, free games every month and what the fuck ever. But something like this would be really kick-ass. I'll, you know, going back to the idea of them adding in additional features, what if they start adding multiplayer and, you know, the older games had multiplayer and co-op and stuff like that, but imagine if they allowed an online version of all that. I would love to play Ridge Racer 4 online. I'd love to play Twisted Metal 2 online. I would love to play Twisted Metal Black again online, and, you know, stuff like that. I'm like, that would be really fucking neat. I think about a lot of the co-op 2-player games, and like, that would be really fun. Just a ton of shit that I can imagine would be really cool. I want to go back through some of the Dynasty Warrior games. I want to play Dynasty Warriors 3, but I want to play it online with one of my friends, and I don't have to have it as split screen. I have the full screen, but I'm running around somewhere with somebody else, and it's like, oh, this is so fucking awesome. Who's going to get the bigger KO count? You know, I love that idea and then some, but it's only if they decide to go and do that. And it's not demanding a whole hell of a lot. Sure, you do have to go and put some people to work on this, but at the same point, you will get so many people invested into this idea and interested into this idea and wanting to go back and play the older titles as well as all of the new titles. Now, going and speaking of something that just happened recently, whenever they had announced this, it was right around the 1 p.m. mark that they had started announcing this and talking about it. GameStop stock fucking dropped. Like, it was up here, 1 p.m., oh, bam, went down, and then, like, it came up a little bit, and then just, like, flatlined right about here. So, big fucking drop between these two areas. I was like, holy shit, I got to see the chart recently. As a matter of fact, Rich over at Review Tech USA was making a video about it. I watched that, then I went to go online and check it out and see that, and I'm like, holy fucking balls. Like, they're shitting themselves into a frenzy. I'm talking like, they're getting in like a bevy of adult diapers, and you think it's like some scat fetish party because they're shitting themselves so fucking much. And there's, I mean, no glass tables involved or anything like that, but I'm like, oh my god, they're like sweating fucking bullets, and then some, and understandably so, because this kind of undermines their entire business model, because you figure a lot of people, again, like I had said previously, get a game and they kind of just get rid of it. Now, trade-in value is essentially what's been well, the trade-ins in general have been what's keeping GameStop afloat for a really long time, so that's like, that's kind of a big deal, but just think about all this stuff, I'm like, holy fuck. Now, they did say that you're going to need a PlayStation 3 controller for this, so essentially you will need a PlayStation 3 controller, you know, by default, and I'm assuming that's because it has Start and Select, whereas the PlayStation 4 controller just has the touchpad, which I'm kind of surprised they don't find a way to go and integrate it, where the touchpad, if you touch the left-hand side of it, that's Select. The right-hand side, that's Start. I don't know if that would be a little bit too difficult for them to go and do, but either way, you're going to go and need that. And the very idea that they're going to have this on many devices, like, a lot of people have a fucking smartphone now. A lot of people are now starting to go and get tablets and stuff like that. So the idea of having all this stuff on there is very cool, but again, it needs to work very well, and there are certain aspects of it that make it problematic, most notably you know, what is the pricing going to be? If you make the pricing too high, nobody's going to jump on board. If you make it too cheap, you're undermining all the actual retail releases of it and kind of fucking yourself and the publishers who make games for your platform specifically, and especially the developers who slaved away trying to go and make that game. So right now, that's going to be very, very, like, fucked up ground to go and walk on, and I can't even say which one is going to be the right way. I mean, there's got to be that middle ground, and I don't even know what the middle ground would have to be, but they have to make it something good. And then there's a lot of people who are also worried, like, well, what about my physical copies? Will I be able to get a discount because I have physical copies of said games? But I always wondered, like, if you have a physical copy of the game, then why do you need to have the rental? This made me kind of curious about something like that. I was like, huh, that's just kind of weird. But anyway, that idea that we're going to have all this stuff on there, and Sony had already said like a while back that they want to go and take the PlayStation brand and eventually become a console-less you know, company and kind of just make it its own thing, its own brand, and it was always going to be streaming and digital downloads and stuff like that. This is them ushering that in right now to begin with, and eventually go into the future. When they're going to stop making consoles, I really don't know. Then again, they could continue to make a set-top box, because I mean, we are seeing Steam boxes now, so they could continue to do that, but it could be, you know, no physical discs or anything like that, just a little set-top box that looked like, you know, an iPad mini or an iMac or some shit like this, some small little box. All those little set-top boxes, I can't even think of any off the top of my head, but you get the idea at the very least. I think if anything, it would look cool like the Chromecast, just jam that into the fucking TV, bam, there you go, because it's a little like flash drive. That would be a lot more awesome. Bitchin' tits, oh yeah, punch fun bags. So anyhow, but that's a lot of aspects of it. It just leaves a lot more questions about it than I have answers to. And I just hope that they do something good with this because, you know, as a gamer, I want to be able to go and voice my concerns about it and voice my opinions on it, as well as millions of people around the entire world to try to go and groom this into becoming, you know, something really kick-ass. Because even if it's something you're not going to be interested in, you still want gaming to be good for other people. Even if this is something that you're not going to be interested in, you at least don't want it to be complete shit, right? You know, if Microsoft or Nintendo start doing something really similar to this, I want them to do just as good of a job, if not better, so that it's a competitive market to make it, you know, exactly what we want out of it. And again, a lot of the ideas that I'm tossing out there, especially with like the emulation bits of it, with the whole add-ons and stuff like that, I would really like to see them take that into consideration or actually just apply that outright, because it would be fucking awesome. Like, it really would be, and then some. But who knows? I mean, the future pretty much is, we're gonna have to wait a couple months, that's all I know. But anyway, so, opinions, thoughts, feelings, whatever the fuck that you have. If you like the idea and you think it's really awesome, then that's the bee's knees. If you think it's complete and utter fucking shit and you don't even want to see something like this exist whatsoever, you think Sony ought to be fucking castrated for even having an idea like this, okie dokie. Or if you're just like me and you're gonna wait it out and see what they end up doing, and if they fuck up, well, you already know one motherfucker that's gonna have an opinion about it, then by all means you can be in the gray area right along with me and just wait out and wonder what the fuck is going to happen in the future. Either way, there's a comment box, do all the other fucking happy horse shit. Anyway, so I conclude this. Like always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on.